What's up, man? Welcome to the Touchdown Hoedown. I'm your host, the Degenerate75. We'll be doing our final thoughts for the NFL slate this week. In case you're just finding me, new guy, I'm a high-limit DFS player who's helping you try not to suck at this. I focus on golf, college football, and most importantly, NFL football. So if you like the cut of my jib, come check it all out. See all this shit up here? Come check it out. You might like it. So without further ado, let's get going. The first place we're always going to start is with contest selection. I'm telling you, man, this is where so many of you are blowing your money. If you want me to help you to quit sucking at this stuff, you're going to have to get better and not playing these donkey dick contests. There's rule number one, you motherfather. All right, here you go. 28% of all the money in this contest goes to first place in the Millionaire Maker. Don't play in it. If you want to throw two lineups in it and have fun because you have that kind of bankroll, do it. But don't be mad when you're depositing $100 every week when you're throwing your 3, 4, 5 contests on that and blowing your money. If you'd want to play $100, go play these $100 single entry. Go play two $50 single entries. If that's too expensive for you, go check out the $12 single entries. Go do the $33 5 maxes. Focus on contests where only 10% of the money goes to first, and then 10% of 10th goes to that. Also, check out contests where you can enter the same number of lineups as everybody else in it. If you get tired of me saying this every fucking week, well then start listening. All right, I'm sorry. I get a little fired up, man. You're just giving away money when you play in these poorly structured contests, and I'm trying to help you. You could be a complete asshole at making lineups. If you just pick better contest selections, that right there will save you 30% of your bankroll per year. All right, there you go. Hey, speaking of contests, I'm doing one completely free to get in. It's right down in the description. Just go click in it. Winner of the contest gets a free $20 ticket with me next week. We'll make it together, split the profits 50-50. We'll put it in the Millionaire Maker, so it could be a cool, $500,000 for you. Completely free, no strings attached. So just go hop in it if you want to play. Just growing it and trying to grow the community. That's all. So if you like that, do it. Also, if you also go drop a like and a sub. We're almost to 5,000. I'm going to do a huge giveaway when we get to 5,000. That's 5,000 between Twitter and YouTube. We're not quite there on YouTube yet. All right, this is a quick overview of the slate. We're just going to go over some news, some plays, some stacks, some strategy, and then we're going to get the F out of here because these shows, when they're an hour long, no one wants to watch them. When they're 15 to 20 minutes, that's the sweet spot. So let's get going. We're just going to go game by game. This Carolina-Atlanta game, no one's going to want to play it. A 41-point total is really low. Two offenses that have been struggling. However, there is news here that is relevant to us as DFS players. D'Onta Foreman is going to probably be a bell cow this week. Obviously, they already traded Christian McCaffrey last week. And then you have Chuba Hubbard, who's also out this week. So D'Onta Foreman is in line for a big workload. Now, you could say, I don't care about getting a big workload from a shitty offense. Fair point, brother. Fair point. But he did look pretty good last week when he was splitting time with Chuba. So if he can keep up that efficiency, he is a really good play. There's this narrative going around the community about DJ Moore and how they are trying to make him appealing so they can also trade him and get some pieces. So there's this conspiracy theory that, they're going to get him the ball more. Well, I mean, it doesn't change the fact that he's still got PJ Walker throwing in the ball. So if you want to go play 21% DJ Moore, you go right on ahead, Bob. I'll fucking pass. I do think that Atlanta, it just feels like Drake London or Kyle Pitts is due for a big game. I don't know if you ever want to play somebody because they're due, but these guys are, big talents. The problem is Atlanta only passing the ball like 20 times a game, legit 20 times a game. So, even if they're getting 25% of the market share, that's still only 5 targets a game. So it's really hard to love anybody in this game. And in my opinion, it's definitely not a stackable game. Hey, the Bears actually show the pulse. Do the Bears have like a functional offense? Because if they do, this game gets really appealing. If we can start counting on Justin Fields to push the tempo and, run in a touchdown and maybe be able to throw a forward pass, past 8 yards and it actually get caught by a receiver, Chicago starts to become really appealing because their defense isn't very good. So they're going to give up points. The problem with Chicago is they don't ever push the other team for them to continue scoring points. And this week, if you don't know, the mega chalk play is Tony Pollard because Zeke Elliott is out, and with Zeke being out, everybody just always assumes that, oh man, if Tony Pollard was ever started, he'd be the best ever. But what people don't understand about guys like Tony Pollard is like they've been so good because they are that change of pace back. They have a different skill set than the lead back, and so when they come in, they do great. But then when it's all theirs, they're not as efficient as you're used to them being. Everybody thinks, well, if he does that good on 12 touches, imagine how good he'll do on 20 touches, and that math doesn't always cross cross over. So this week, last week the mega chalk was Josh Jacobs, but Josh Jacobs is used to that role, right? That is what he always does. This is Tony Pollard in a separate role. So I will tell you, buyer beware. I love Tony Pollard just as much as anybody, but it's a little bit different when he's changing roles and then you're expecting him to continue to have that efficiency. I agree. Against the Bears is a good spot. 20 touches against the Bears, great spot. But you know what? There is a chance that maybe he's just not as efficient as we're hoping. Maybe Dallas just passes all over him and CeeDee Lamb goes for 35. Something to consider. Michael Gallup, bounce back city, right? Got me a big old 0 all over my lineups last week. So I know if I fade him this week, he's got a 30 burger in him. So watch out for things like that. If everybody wants to go play Tony Pollard in this game, be open to playing Lamb, Schultz, or Gallup. And honestly, I think you could do worse than a $5,200 Justin Fields. He actually showed a pulse in primetime the other night. Next game, Miami, Detroit. We'll just call this Chalk Central. Everybody wants to play this game. I mean, you can just see the projected ownership on the guys in this game. It is insane. But here's what I would point out to you. Look at how often these guys are showing up in the optimizer rate. The answer is not near as much as they're being owned. So, I understand if you have FOMO, fear of missing out, and you don't want to miss out on this game. Like we've seen it before. We saw it with Seattle and Detroit 3 or 4 weeks ago. Everybody had that game targeted and it shot out. And you had to have that game. You had to have that game stacked to win any real GPPs that week. However, you just got to be cautious playing a game that's this chalky because it's going to be guys in this game are going to be 20% owned. If you just completely faded this game, you would, and it just kind of ends up being both teams spinning their wheels. You've legit blocked out well over half of all the lineups in that GPP. Now you could say, well, what are the chances it's not going to shoot out? Okay, well then how about you go get into this game and you get pieces that nobody wants? How about instead of running the Tua stack that everybody's so in love with, you go run a Goff stack? Right? How about that? How about you just go play DeAndre Swift or something like that? Or just go take a small piece of the game like Hawkinson. These guys that are going to be lower owned pieces who are still in this environment. So if it does shoot out, you have a piece of it. And then you just hope you get the right pieces and they're counterfeiting everybody else's, right? That's just that's a way to think about it. Instead of going and playing the Tua stack, go play Raheem Mostert. Although I think he's going to be pretty chalky too. By and large, I would just say I'm not so sure that I can't, this isn't a game I just can't miss out on. And so because of that, there's other games that I'm going to look to get it in on. But if you're going to get in on this game, I think you got to go really heavy. If you want to play Tua stacks, I would legit make that maybe one of your 2 stacks you do all week because you're going to have to play so many of them to have leverage on your Tua stacks that you really can't be mixing in 3-4 quarterback stacks into your player pool. Here's one that's right next to it. I think this will probably be the second chalkiest game of the week. Josh Jacobs was mega chalk last week, and he delivered. So I would not surprise me if he comes in very nicely owned again this week. However, DK did give him quite the bump in salary. He's up a full $1,000 to $7,500 now. This game has a lot of appealing parts. The Raiders have shown that they can move the ball. They can have big offensive games. And the Saints actually have a functional offense. And the best part is it's mainly run through Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara. Now, you still got to hold out that, dumpster fire Andy Dalton's going to get anybody there. But if he does, he's very stackable with Jawan Johnson, Olave, and Kamara. Or you go run a Raider stack, and you have all kinds of very appealing run-back options with the Saints. So this is a game I'm interested in. I would, this one, I feel like you're going to get a discounted ownership than you are from that Miami-Detroit game. And I feel like this game has just as high of a chance of shooting out because Andy Dalton, yeah, he does suck. But I don't think he is hopeless suck. And in the right environment, he can move the ball and get some touchdowns. Let's get over to this game. Pretty ugly one. New England versus the Jets. What's going on with this? There's some nice pieces in this game, but I just don't think this is a game you can stack with a 40-point total. They're going to play slow. Both teams are going to run the ball. Both teams take pride in trying to grind it out on the ground and play defense. However, to just say, oh, well, that's a low-scoring game, I don't want any parts of that, I think is a little short-sighted. To ignore what Ramondre Stevenson is doing, as a running back, he has got to be one of the 5 most efficient running backs in the NFL. He has a nose for the end zone. He catches the ball, and Jesus, the guy seems like he can run for 100 yards every single week and get you that bonus. So you've got to be considering him. And at $6,400, he is still underpriced. He is a $7,000 running back, even whenever Damian Harris is playing. He's basically surpassed him. He is clearly the more talented back. And then on the other side, you got to look at Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson at 4,200, you'd be a fool not to consider him, because as you start making your lineups and you get down there and you're like, hey, I need that cheap punt receiver to make this lineup work, there are none, right? You don't want to be playing the third wide receiver in shitty offenses. So when you can get a legit wide receiver one, even in a broken offense like the Jets, Garrett Wilson is a legit talent, a first-round pick, and he's already shown that he can have big games. I feel like those are two pieces, if you want to run a little mini correlated stack, makes a lot of sense. This is probably the trickiest game on the slate. I think that Jalen Hurts is without question the best quarterback play on this slate. You would ask yourself, why would you not just play Jalen Hurts in every one of your lineups? He delivers every week. He has such a safe floor with his legs, and he has a huge upside because of the Phillies offense being efficient and him having that rushing upside. And so because of that, why would you not play Jalen Hurts? Well, the answer is simple. There is a chance that this game is 28-3 in the third quarter and Philly just gives up. But then on the flip side of that, if Philly scored 28 points, you probably got to think Jalen Hurts got there, unless Miles Sanders is going to come in and vulture all his touchdowns. So I can't imagine I'm going to have too many lineups that don't have either Jalen Hurts or Miles Sanders in it, because it just feels like one of those guys is going to go off. And if I run Jalen Hurts, I love running skinny Jalen Hurts stacks, stacking with Dallas Goedert, or, because a skinny stack is one, right? Stacking with AJ, or if you really want to go crazy, stacking with Devontae. And I think those are all legitimate. And believe it or not, the Steelers actually have some reasonable run back options. Freiermuth, Deontay Johnson, if these guys can get any action, score a touchdown or two, now you're dancing in the streets naked, because not only are your run back guys getting touchdowns, but they're pushing Philly and continuing getting Philly running their offensive aggressively well into the fourth quarter, and that's what you need. If you get like a 28-21 game out of this, you're probably going to be in a good spot if you have a bunch of Jalen Hurts stacks. So this one, people I think are going to look at that total. They're going to fear the blowout, but just know Jalen Hurts is the best play on this slate, and it's not even close. Probably my favorite game. We keep seeing these totals, 51.5, 49.5, but no one wants to play this one at 49. It has such lower ownership relative to the other high games. And Justin Jefferson is just the best play of this week. I will die on this hill. Yes, he is 9,100 is a little too pricey. However, he always performs better at home. He is due, I hate to say that again, but he is due for a monster game. And he's playing Arizona, who's been giving up points left and right this year. I will give Arizona credit. When DeAndre Hopkins came back, their offense looked different. It looked better. They're actually being creative and coming up with ways to get this guy the ball. So I am very okay running a Kyler stack with Hopkins and running it back with Jefferson. And there's so much great value at running back this week beyond, with Pollard and Deontay Foreman. And there's a handful of other ones that this becomes a very viable game to stack. And I feel like this game has just as much shootout equity as the Las Vegas and Miami game, yet no one's going to play it. So this just seems like a great game to stack for me. And the best part, the hidden fact that nobody will talk about, is this is an early slate game. And so based on how you do in this, gives you a lot of flexibility to go pivot in the afternoon. If you smash with these lower owned pieces, well, now you just go hop on the chalk in the afternoon. If your pieces don't get there, well, you still have punt equity in the afternoon where you can just go take some flyers, right? So because of that, I love this game. This is one that I will be looking to stack just because of the total and the pieces in it. Tennessee and Houston. It's pretty gross. It's a pretty gross game. These games just always seem like they're 21-17. No one ever goes ham. But anytime that you see Derrick Henry low owned, I don't know if he's going to be 13%. That honestly seems a little high. I think he's going to be more like 10%. Anytime Derrick Henry gets under 10%, especially against a slapdick team like Houston, you got to start considering him, right? He's got a 40 burger in him coming up soon. And who's a better candidate for that than Houston, right? So because of that, you got to be warm to him. You got to be warm to Pierce. But outside of that, I just don't like anybody in this game. They're just slow, methodical teams. And whenever you're running fewer plays, let me go ahead and blow your mind. You score fewer points in fantasy. Crazy, right? I know. So this is a game I'm not really after, but once again, it's one of those games that if you just completely ignore everybody in it, I don't think you're playing DFS the correct way. Washington, Indianapolis. People are going to see this as the lowest total on the slate, and they're going to be like, well, I'm not playing that. They both have shitty quarterbacks. But I'm just telling you, Sam Ehlinger is a tough mother father. He went to Texas, and fuck Texas. I don't care anything about Texas. But Sam Ehlinger is a real quarterback, and Sam Ehlinger has weapons. We already know Jonathan Taylor is elite. He hasn't been great this year, but we know he's an elite talent, and we know that they have functional wide receivers. Michael Pittman Jr. is very, very good, probably a borderline wide receiver one in the NFL. Alex Pierce has been very good, really started to show some potential as a rookie. There is a path that you could run some really nice Colt stacks here, and the best part about a Colt stack is that it's so cheap, you can go get expensive parts of other games. You can go run a Hopkins and Jefferson from this game, or a Devontae Adams and Kamara from this game if you're stacking the Colts. And with Johan Dotson from the Redskins out, the Commanders, I'm old school, man. They'll always be the Redskins to me, you motherfather. With the Commanders, Dotson's out. So, a guy like Curtis Samuel is probably going to get more usage. Terry McLaurin is always live to be your 1% guy that gets 35 points. So because of that, this game has my interest. Especially when I know that everybody in this game is going to be lower owned just because they're going to see that total and not understand that total is just Vegas trying to guess what people think that it's going to be. And if people have this perception, both these offenses are inefficient, they have to put out a moderate over-under. I don't know if that's really reflective because neither of these teams, I think, have like world-class defenses. And if you don't know, the Colts have been passing more than anybody in the NFL. And Sam Ehlinger has some really good legs. That sounds weird. He runs well. That's what we're trying to say here. The Giants in Seattle, my God, it seems like the Seattle love's over. I think Kenneth Walker is going to be high owned this week, but as you can see, he's literally like one of the most negative leverage plays on the slate this week. The Giants actually have a pretty good defense this year. DK Metcalf looks like he's going to be out, so I've heard some Noah Fant talk. I don't understand how that's correlated. I'm out on this game. If I'm playing part of this game, give me Wandell, give me Barkley, and if you really, really want to be gross, you want like a really sick stack. How about a Barkley, Wandell, Danny Dimes stack? That's a gross one, right? But other than that, man, this game it just doesn't feel like it's going to get there. Even though it has a moderate total of 44.5, it just doesn't seem like a game that's going to shoot out very well. So I'm not interested. And then lastly, the San Francisco Rams game. This is one the ownership is just crazy low across the board, and I think there are some amazing pieces in this. First of all, if you don't know, Deebo Samuel's out, which really changes things up for San Francisco, because right there, he usually gets somewhere between 5 and 8 carries a game, so you have to assume those carries are going to go somewhere. We're going to probably make the safe assumption they're going to Christian McCaffrey. So if you want to be early on the Christian McCaffrey party, this could be a great week to get there. Maybe. And then if you really want to get weird, go run it back with a Matthew Stafford stack, right? Because Matthew Stafford, all of his usage is going to go through Higbee and Kupp, okay? And then if you do that, you can run it back with McCaffrey. And if you really want to get gross, George Kittle. George Kittle is due for one of those 30 burgers. And if you don't know, his production as a fantasy asset goes way up when Deebo Samuel's out. I think that he is one of the best plays on this slate. Why he's only 5.5% in the optimals, I don't know. I think this is one of those sneaky afternoon games. If my early games don't work out, this will be the one I'll pivot to. I will pivot to some Stafford stacks and some Garoppolo stacks. And you're like, that's gross. Those will never hit. Well, if my lineup's already dead, it doesn't fucking matter now, does it, right? I'm just trying to get back in min cash at that point, you motherfather. So when I make my lineups, I will be aware that if things go bad early, I'm pivoting to this game. If things are going well early, I'm just gonna go grab all the chalky pieces in the afternoon. That's what I'm gonna do. Hey, if you're one of those people that doesn't have time to like live in this computer and do all this shit like I do, over on my Discord, I make this. It's called the Rosetta Stone, where I highlight the best games to attack, go with all the correlation plays, the stacks, everything they need to know. Guys we're watching for injury, give them the ownership so you can just kind of look at this and make lineups without having to sort through all the hundreds and hundreds of players. All of this is available over through my Discord, which is through the Patreon, which you'll find right down here in the description. So if you're interested, you like the cut of my jib, come check it out. It is quite the community over there, you motherfather, and it's growing every day. Some people just over there because they like the community. Some people like the extra content I give them, but some people just want to support the cause. So if that's you, do it. Lastly, tell a friend about me, man. YouTube algorithm hates me, so the best way that people find me is people telling their friends about me. You can also follow me on Twitter. And I'm very accessible, so don't be afraid to shoot me a DM. I keep the DMs open on Twitter. I'm not one of those guys like, I'm too busy to talk to you. So if you reach out to me, I will give you a thoughtful reply with, in a timely manner, right? And don't forget to go hop in that contest completely free, no strings attached. It's not like you have to give me your email or anything like that to play in it. So there you go, man. That is it. I hope you kick some ass this week. I got to get off here. Me and John Galt JD got to go do our live stream for the Discord. So I hope you've enjoyed this show. I hope you kick some ass this week, and I hope you enjoy my outro.